Hello and welcome to the 8-man Nightmare Mode Colonel Vorgath Boss Fight Guide. My name's Hayete, and today we'll be covering everything you need to know to successfully complete the third fight in the Explosive Conflict operation. For this encounter, we suggest you bring a standard composition of 2 tanks, 4 DPS, and 2 healers. Any class composition will be capable of beating this fight, however, having a few ranged DPS in your group will make this fight a lot easier to manage. For this video, I'll only be covering Nightmare-specific mechanics and strategies. If you need to study up on the foundational mechanics and strategies, please take a few moments and head on over and watch our Hard Mode Colonel Vorgath guide. That will cover everything you need to know in detail prior to watching this video. So let's jump right into the DPS requirements for this fight. To analyze this encounter, just as in Hard Mode, you need to split the fight into 2 sections, the Minefield Puzzle and Vorgath himself. So let's start with the Minefield Analysis. Utilizing the same analytical methodology as the Hard Mode analysis, you'll find the following. From Hard Mode to Nightmare, you gain 40 seconds on the enrage time. Each of these health totals represents the individual add health for each type. The Demolitions Probe's health has increased 20%, Assassin Droids have decreased by 30%, and the Imperial Troopers have remained unchanged. As with the Hard Mode encounter, you can still get stuck with either 4 or 5 mines to clear in Nightmare. So with that, I've analyzed the minefield in the same manner as in the Hard Mode guide. In doing so, you'll find the following. Overall, with the increased enrage time and the shifting of health totals within the adds, this fight does not change much. The overall requirements needed for the minefield increased roughly 15%. Alright, so on to Vorgath's analysis. Unlike the minefield portion of this fight, you gain no time on the enrage, and thus the enrage remains at 3 minutes. Using the same analysis as the Hard Mode guide, you'll find the following. The total health figure includes the 2 Imperial Commander adds that you'll engage along with Vorgath. For this fight, this is the part that experienced the most change, mainly due to the fact that you gain no time towards the enrage between Hard Mode and Nightmare. From Hard Mode to Nightmare, the DPS demand for this portion of the encounter increased roughly 43%. So now let me go over the mechanic changes from Hard Mode to Nightmare. Number 1. Overload. This is probably the most drastic change from Hard Mode to Nightmare. Overload in Nightmare does not channel, and has been changed from a 360-degree knockback to a 45-degree frontal knockback. Number 2. Imperial Assassin Droids. The Assassin Droids in Nightmare mode can no longer be stunned, CC'd, or pushed back. So those are the main differences to be aware of between Hard Mode and Nightmare mode. As far as strategy is concerned, you'll only be fighting on Path 1. This means as your designated player gets up to the tower, the bottom left node will always be green, and should be activated immediately. All probe droids can also be found lining the wall on Path 1. Our suggested strategy to deal with the probe droid is really simple and much easier than the Hard Mode strategies, oddly enough. For Nightmare, you'll want to position your tank along here, and the rest of your group here. This will keep probe droid knockbacks directed towards the wall and away from your group. You should still set up a rotation for cleave interrupts, but otherwise do this and DPS the probe droid down. The only consideration to keep in mind when doing this strategy is to ensure your tank holding the probe droids immediately taunts the droid as it spawns, and puts it up against the wall. If you delay too long, the overload knockback may go off in transient and kill your entire raid. Once you make it to Vorgath, aside from the increased DPS needed to beat his enrage, it's the same fight, and you can use any of the strategies discussed in the Hard Mode guide. I highly suggest you use the third strategy though, so you can completely ignore the turrets. If you're healing this fight, be sure to really watch your tanks as Vorgath hits a lot harder in Nightmare than in Hard Mode. If you happen to be tanking Vorgath, be sure to rotate through your defensives and swap with your partner tank when you have no more to cycle through, as damage by Vorgath can catch you off guard if not proactively mitigated. With that said, his sticky grenade does a considerable amount of damage in Nightmare, so unless you're a tank, you should utilize any available cooldown to mitigate this damage. The damage from this ability also appears to extend beyond the visible red circle, so give yourself a few extra feet from other players when the detonation occurs. Lastly, Explosive Round will more times than not one-shot anyone caught standing in the circle, so make sure that you move your feet immediately after concussion charge to avoid this. So that's the fight, guys. Honestly, this fight minus the increased DPS and heals needed is much easier to execute in my opinion than the hard mode version. So if this video helped you, feel free to pay it forward and help us by dropping us a like and subscribing. If you have any questions, suggestions, tips and tricks, or think of something I may have missed, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. So until next time, take care and enjoy the fight.
Activate turrets! Reinforcements deployed! Engage defensive systems! Reinforcements deploy! Reinforcements deploy! Reinforcements deploy! Reinforcements deploy! Reinforcements deploy! Reinforcements deploy! Reinforcements, deploy! You should not have come! You will not endanger the Chosen One! Activate turrets! The Masters have decreed this ends here. Activate turrets! Impossible.